when you play in a band, especially metal, which in my opinion, metal is everything should be somewhat fun. It's a fun form of music. It's fun to play shows. After I play a show, it's like I just got off a roller coaster ride. Everybody should be having a good time. But you got to be like a little kid to some degree when you play metal. And for me to be in like the best like mindset is even if it's challenging, okay, I'm going to climb that mountain because it's fun and it's worth it. And I think everybody in the band has that attitude right now, which is awesome.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy, and you're watching GhostCultMag.com on all the things, and I am psyched to be joined by New York City's Locked In A Vacancy. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
What's up, man?
Great to see you guys. Just dropped a brand new EP, which I'm super excited to chat about. But before I do, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you go around and introduce yourselves like we were playing a game of Monopoly.
All right.
Dyami, you first. Let's go from band members who've been in from the longest time ago to the newest.
All right. I'm Dyami. I'm the singer of Locked In A Vacancy.
I'm Nelson Blake. Play guitar.
Jay Shine. I play drums. Locked In A Vacancy and Marauder.
Dennis Lars Torrent, bassist for both Locked In A Vacancy and the Asheville Cadence.
Checking in from the witness protection program is Dennis. Anyhow, I had to make that joke again. Sorry,
It's all good.
Yeah, sorry I'm corny, but anything for a cheap laugh. Dennis is my boy. He's been a guest of ours before. He actually joined my other podcast about vinyl before also, and beer and weed and whatever else we talked about that day. And yes. I'm just so stoked for you guys. This is your first release since 2006, maybe, other than a track here or there. I know the band has had periods of activity and non-activity, but let's just hear from the band about why late 2023 was a good time to release this. And on the on a record label I dig, on the same record label as Mafa, who had, to me, the hardcore record of the year on
Fuzz.
Was that Fuzz Theory? So why a new EP now?
I mean, the timing was, we were trying to get something out. We started playing again in 2018. We started jamming and like kind of getting the idea of like playing more than just a one-off show. And then like after we played a few shows, we were like, hey, let's write some new stuff. And then the pandemic hit pretty hard, so that kind of like put the kibosh on a lot of things. And then coming out of that, we kind of just hit the ground running and like trying to write new material. And since it had been so long since we put out anything, we were like, hey, let's get in the studio and try to get something out this year before it's like another year goes by.
It should have been out earlier, but we had a lot of lineup changes.
Yeah, there were some issues.
Not how that goes, man.
Yeah, and lineup changes is like, for people who may have been familiar with the band before, like 2006 to 2023 seems like a pretty long time, and it is. So lineup changes is really at the heart of it. Even though I've joined the band in like, I don't know, 99, Dyami, I think. Is when I've
something like that, yeah.
Something like that, right? So, yeah. And you've been in it since what, 97?
97, right? Yeah.
97, right?
Yeah.
And Jay, how long you been in the band?
2018, Dyami? Is that actually?
Yeah, 2018.
2018. So that's the first one, right? So obviously when the band initially, stopped doing stuff, Dyami had physical issues, right? And medical issues, which were, it was weird because when Lamb Goat covered Burden of Being, I saw all of these links to like the band's history. And I'm like, oh, that's all on the internet. I thought I was the only person who knew. Dyami's issues. And then when we actually got together in 2012, did a reunion show, but then shortly after that, Rick passed away.
Rest in peace, Rick.
Rest in peace to Rick. Love him to death. And Rick's passing was actually a big part of the reason I got back into it, because it just showed me how much the band meant to me. And, he was killed by a drunk driver. So if you don't do that. That forever made me an enemy of drunk driving. And so after that, we didn't have a drummer. And then Jay started playing. They started doing like the old songs. I was a fill-in up until that point, just kind of coming in like, hey, if you guys need me. And then after the pandemic, we had to get our lineup in order. But once we got the lineup somewhat straight, we got really hardcore writing music and really just wanted to release something that we were happy with, that represents the people who are in the band now. So that's kind of how we got here.
And I'll tell you a crazy story about like when I first joined the band, like, I knew Rick as well, the original drummer of the band. Unfortunately, he's not with us right now anymore, but me and Rick have the same birthday, June 19th, right?
Yeah.
So that's crazy enough, right? But check this,
Yeah.
it gets even crazier. My first gig in the band was on June 19th,
Yeah, on his birthday.
2018, on both of our birthdays. So it's only fitting that I should be, because, and to make it even crazy, and to make it even crazier than that, I also took over drums for him in another band before Locked In A Vacancy. I took over drums for him in Nassau Chainsaw.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm already playing like behind the drum lines that Rick wrote in 2 bands over my drumming career. And we had the same birthday. And my first gig was on our birthdays. So a little spooky metal shit. Yeah.
Right on. Was that I may have the timing wrong. Was that a gig you guys opened for one of the Cavalera bands?
No, that was opening for Bad Wolves, actually.
That's right.
That's right. Gramercy.
Gramercy. I was at that show. I was trying to figure out which one it was. I was still living in Brooklyn in 2018, so I was at that Bad Wolves show because that was one of the first big Bad Wolves shows they ever did in New York.
Oh yeah.
And,
that's my first show.
Yeah, that's crazy. and y'all killed it because again, I was there. I think I was in the photo pit. I was still taking pictures of bands back then. Now I'm too busy.
It was a great show.
It was a great show, for real. And again, I had said offline, just for full transparency, I was a Locked In A Vacancy fan. We used to come out to all the shows. One of my bands opened for y'all, and we weren't booed off the stage, but we were met with a lot of disinterest like this, a lot of this behavior. We were not hardcore enough to compete with y'all, and that's okay because that's not we were who we were.
Hey, that sounds like a Murphy's Law gig.
Oh yeah.
What was your band called?
I was in a couple of New York City bands. Grunt BX is the one that opened for Locked In A Vacancy. Grunt, and there's a lot of bands called Grunt now, but we were the first. And then I was in Hated, which was kind of a rap metal, Suicidal Tendencies, Limp Bizkit kind of thing at the early aughts before I moved away. So. And we played everywhere.
I could dig it. Yeah.
I used to jump into the crowd and mosh with my bass because I wanted to be Hoya Rock, right? And I just jab people with the bass headstock. Dennis would be appalled. He's like, "Don't do that to your basses." But
actually, that's kind of fun now that the headless instruments are the new deal. So yeah, more power to it.
I think they're pointier and they might even hurt a little more.
I think they hurt more. I think they
definitely.
Even better.
Somewhere out there, Tony Levin is horrified that we're having this conversation. But we all came up. I'm from the Bronx, and we came from a scene where, because I want to talk about, just before we jump into Before the Dawn, and It's Always Darkest, the predecessor. But I feel like we came from a scene where we weren't very concerned about who was what style of metal. We all just played together. We all had a little bit of hardcore in us. We all had a little bit of death metal in us. The Bronx Deathcore scene with like Irate and Go to Mentis and District 9, and these are bands we all really played together with and all drew influence from. So like we were not so siloed back then. We were all brothers. We were all fam. Like it was very tight.
Everybody
scene
banded together. Right.
And it might have been some friendly competition at the shows about who could play harder or go harder on stage or draw more people, but it was a cool scene. One of my favorite bands was Vic 20. I just found out a while back that their front person, John Mirren, who was a friend of mine, passed away.
He passed away.
Very sad to me. That guy was a huge inspiration to me, just personally and as a lyricist. And but it was such a cool scene. And you guys you were hard to peg. No one could say you were one thing or another. And I want to say I feel like I'm going to grab a little inspiration. I think Barry from Go to Mentis has a YouTube show now, and he was talking about the modern deathcore that came from like Orange County and all the other places, Chicago and down south and everywhere else, versus the old death metal hardcore of the tri-state area, which also Hatebreed came from that, right, before they got a little commercial. So, like, it's a huge scene. And, like, were we first? It doesn't really matter. But, like, we were, like, what is death metal and hardcore? Deathcore was a whole thing before now. So I feel like you guys came from that lineage in a way. And I see sometimes you're referred to as metalcore, but I don't think of you as, like, the swoopy-haired, Avenged Sevenfold, Atreyu.
No. That came much later. No.
Which I like those
Hell
bands.
no.
I like those bands. I will confess. I actually just interviewed Travis from Atreyu has a side project that's like sounds like Dillinger Escape Plan meets Atreyu.
Nice.
It's really good. It's called
Hey man.
Fake Figures.
No shame, dude. On my you know how to do the Spotify year-end recap? Top 5 bands listened to Avenged Sevenfold. No shame. No shame whatsoever. So it's funny you say that, man. Yeah, man. There's no such thing as guilty pleasures, only pleasures.
Exactly.
So,
I love this guy. This is my new best friend.
But that's okay, because even though we might not like all the same bands, we like some of the same bands, obviously.
Yeah.
That's what makes the sound as it blends it together. You know what I mean? So
that's kind of how Locked In A Vacancy turned into that, right? Like originally, it was a much like when I say originally, I mean the stuff almost no one's heard was almost indie rock with a little hardcore edge. And then it moved more to a melodic version of a New York City hardcore band. And then it started getting heavier and heavier. And when I came in, I told everybody, I was very new to guitar when I came in. I hadn't been playing definitely not more than 2 years, if that long. And when John, the former guitar player, he had a baby with his girl, so we had to replace him. They had to replace him at the time, Locked In Vacancy. I came in, I'm like, I don't know how to do hardcore. I'm a metal player, and they were like, as long as you can play the songs, it's fine. And then when we started writing the first album, Ethos, the first full length, it was
Exit the Futility Ward.
Exit the Futility Ward. Sorry, thank you. Exit the Futility Ward. That's like the one album where you can hear almost everything from the past up until, when it starts to get towards modern Locked In A Vacancy. You can hear the metal, the death metal, the hardcore, a little of that indie rock is in there, some of the a little of the Lincoln Zeldas, and even some of the super weird stuff. More of New York hardcore is in that album at the time. And that was just us being like, everything's okay. As long as it sounds cool, as long as everybody's into it, and we feel like it's fun to play and it's interesting. We don't care if it's death metal. We don't care if it's hardcore, noisecore, mathcore. Let's just have fun and be weird and, play heavy metal.
Word. I think I want to say Candiria were great teachers also of like, just be yourself, right? Just do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
And it'll work out. Just write songs and just rock out. And also, this band used to go so hard on stage, and even just going back 5 years ago, it seems like a lifetime now, but almost 6 now. That show for Bad Wolves, y'all still brought it live, which was great to see. Especially as I get older, I'm like, man, I can't come out of Mosh retirement just yet, but maybe someday someone will get me out there, and maybe it'll be y'all. But you used to go very hard live too, which was I think a trademark of all the New York bands. We used to just go hard live. And Before the Dawn, man, this is a fantastic EP. Ghost Cult was able to premiere the first track or the first single of Church and State, and which I was really psyched about. It was nice to collab.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for it.
Yeah, Will. You guys, PR reached out to us, and we also did the full album stream for Mafa, which I don't know that as many people checked it out. But I love that record. I absolutely love it.
They're great.
Yeah,
they're
we
great.
just played with them a couple months ago.
Really fun, great band. If people who are watching this, definitely check out Mafa. Seeing them live was absolutely awesome. Great people too, super chill. And when they brought out the tribal drums, it was just it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and a cool like, we need that kind of lyrical power right now in the world because it's all shitty. So let's talk about Before the Dawn. I think you mentioned your previous guitarist is also on this EP too. He contributed. So in terms of the writing, how long was this gestating? Were you guys working on this the whole way? The last few years, you mentioned the pandemic, which we're all sick of talking about, but it is what it is. How long did it take to write these tracks? And was there was there stuff that didn't make it that we'll hear in the future?
Not really. So this was a very strange songwriting process. So Brian Lazarus, he was a Locked In A Vacancy guitar player. Honestly, in terms of shows played and like been in the band longer than me. I left in 2001 and came back as a fill-in in 2018. Really joined full time after the pandemic, right? So I've probably been in the band maybe 4 years, like in terms of running time. Laz was in the band for the entire period from like, I don't know what, 07 Dyami to like 2018,
2005
2020
to 2005 to 2007, and then we broke up. He played the reunion in 2012, And then when we got back together in 2018, he was with us. So
right. So Laz, for we're still super cool with Laz. We actually just had him on stage twice in recent memory, even though he's not. So we still love Laz.
Well, he filled in for one show, and then he played the last song of our EP release party.
Yeah. So, but Laz was leaving the band for personal reasons, and but he had written a great bulk of Brandolini. So that was one track, and we finished that track with Laz pretty much. But that track got completely wrapped up in the recording with our engineer Len Carmichael. And the other two songs were written while it was just Dyami, myself, Jamin, and then later on Dennis. Where it was actually Laz was there for Church and State. Yeah. But I think did we wrap that up without Laz?
We actually did, because we did play it with him and still playing with us.
Yeah, so that was pretty much done with Laz too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the title, or the first track, Burden of Being, that one was written with mostly me, Jamin, and Dyami. Then Dennis came on later. John, who was very, very briefly with the band, recorded the live. Don't start. Recorded the live clean solo on that track, and he wrote the harmony parts in the beginning. So that was how that all came together. Those songs were actually written kind of quick, because Locked In A Vacancy doesn't usually operate like this, but we kind of go with the flow. So with Brandolini, Laz had written probably about 65-70% of that on his own, and then we finished it up in the room. Church and State, I brought in probably about that amount of the riffs, and then we brought the composition and the heavy breakdown together in the room. Bob was a little bit more traditionally Locked In A Vacancy. I came in with 3 riffs, and the rest of it we just felt it out in the practice space, and that's kind of how it usually goes, which is my comfort zone, because I like the collaboration. So the actual songwriting process of this wasn't that long or strenuous. The songs themselves came together pretty quickly with this group.
You can tell your guy that breakdown in Brandolini's Law is the best breakdown of 2023, by the way.
Oh, you like that? You like that, right?
It is.
That was my shit right there, bro.
Oh, word! It's heavier than an elephant dick, man. It is so heavy.
That's right, man. That's fucking right, man.
Yeah.
And I think the band has, like I said, this history. When I'm gonna chat with anybody, I go back and I listen to everything, not just the new thing. So I really love this evolution, Dyami, for your work, man. Any particular influences beside idiocy on that last track, the idiots of the internet poisoning us all, but any really cool influences the last few years of life?
As far as lyric, I mean, I get into a few different things on each of the tracks on the EP. I mean, that last one definitely. I mean, Brandolini's Law was the first song, the new song we completed for the EP, and that directly came right out of the pandemic, being so sick of hearing idiots on the internet talk all kinds of nonsense. And after a while, you just have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? I don't even know these idiots, and you're not going to change their minds and show them that they're believing, and they went down some crazy YouTube rabbit hole. So it's that's where that all came from. So I just had to kind of get that out. Then of Church and State, again, it's a lot of stuff that I write is timely and things that I see going on, and that came directly from seeing everything that was going on as far as conservative right-wing legislation being pushed in the government to try to strip away basic freedoms from basically the LGBT community and women, and trying to repeal Roe versus Wade and things like that, and just kind of speaking out against that kind of thing. And then the first song in the EP, The Burden of Being, that was, I mean, it's the first song, but it was the last one we finished. And I liked, well, two things. I liked the dichotomy, the fact that it's a really kind of more upbeat song in the beginning, but the lyrics are more personal and kind of dark. And it comes from a feeling of, I'm an older guy. So it came from also kind of during the pandemic, you start to think about, you kind of become a lot more introspective because you have a lot more time on your hands, and a lot more, it's easy to get to a dark place of get down on yourself, and maybe if I didn't do this, things would be better for me. I would be in a better position in life. And it was just a kind of medium to express those thoughts. And especially as a person who's getting older and kind of figuring out what am I doing here? It's what am I doing with my life? So doing all this kind of stuff. but kind of accepting that you're not alone in having these thoughts and other people have them. So you can kind of commiserate around that, and just wanted to tell people to talk to people and get these things out so you don't get stuck in a hole. So it's not totally negative.
Yeah, that's what I like about the lyrics to the storytelling in that song. Like, so we write the music first, and then Dyami does the lyrics. So when I read those lyrics with the song, that was the thing that stood out to me, was the whole song is juxtaposition. You know, it's not the happy part is happy, and then the noisy, crazy part is being noisy and crazy. If you guys, like, you know, whoever's listening actually reads the lyrics to that song, during the melodic part, it's the struggle and the pain and like this self-reflection and like almost a little bit of that, like, I don't want to say hopelessness, but you stated it well, this kind of almost impending regret combined with like a threat of depression. But then in the end, when we're heavy with the breakdown, when we're getting noisy, it's we can get up off the floor together. And for me, that was like most metal songs, period. And obviously when I say metal, I just mean everything, but you know, every genre of in the heavy music area, but they're just not usually that personal, you know. And this was a really personal song that I thought really, you know, hit the nail on the head with that kind of feeling.
It's the Gen X ennui is real. We're all like, oh shit. I went to see Suicidal Tendencies recently on their 40th anniversary tour, and they played like the whole first album, and I was like, oh, all this shit from '83 still works for today. In a bad way, not in a good way. In a bad way for us, not them. They rule. But like, I was like, oh shit, like we are in a fascist state. It did actually come true. Shit. But, you know, the record is killer, the EP is killer, and, you know, it's just so good to have this band back. Yeah. I wanted to say, you know, everybody knows what Jay brings to the table, coming from Marauder, brutal drums, but, you know, Dennis is like a weird outlier, right? Because even though Dennis has been in a ton of bands in the area, but he's also like this progressive music wizard, right? He's
yeah, man, definitely. He's a wizard for sure. He even looks like one, man.
I was gonna say Gandalf the Grey on the bass, yo.
Dennis was what a great addition, bro. That could put another dimension in it, bro. And plus, he's just like, he's so easy to get along with, bro. You just, you know, I'm so glad you're in the band, bro.
Thank you.
Things like really fucking like that cemented, you know, that position right there. We don't got to worry about the bass anymore, man.
Not at all. Not at all.
Just always that second guitar is like that revolving door, you know. It's like every band's got that one slot that it's like, oh man, can we get somebody? But now we got somebody good, but he's not here right now. Mike, he's so we're really excited to have him, bro. But he's not on the interview right now, but.
Yeah, Mike's out protecting the city from fires right now.
Nice. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The real hero.
Firefighter. Don't know if you heard man. Don't know if you heard the FDNY guy go by my window.
Oh, yeah. There's always, I'm in San Francisco. It's always on fire. You know what's up. And I was gonna say, if your guy is not here and you want to talk shit, it's fine. You just not show him the interview later.
I tell you what, I will. Since everybody we kind of know where everybody's from. I will say, I'll tell you guys the quick story about how Mike got to. So,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. So our last guitar player didn't work out. I'm not gonna trash talk the kid, but he had his struggles. And so, and we really, you know, after being in the pandemic, you know, in the house in New York City, lockdowns were heavy. So we're all like, we want to get out there. We want to play shows. We want to record all this stuff. We need another player. And it's so hard. This is one of the biggest lies. They used to say like, drummer's hard to find, but the guitar players grow on trees. That is a lie. No good musicians grow on trees. Good musicians are hard to find. I don't care what instrument they play. The good triangle players are difficult to find. So we're looking around, we're sending out the feelers. The problem is most good guitar players who would work in the band are already in a band, right? And so I'm talking while playing Overwatch, the video game, for people who don't know. And I'm just chatting with a friend of mine, and he's like, oh yeah, Mike plays guitar. I was like, oh, that's cool. Now, mind you, when you're talking on the internet, usually one guy's in Florida, one guy's in Indiana, whatever it is. So I didn't know Mike lived in New York City. So then me and him and Mike are talking. He's like, hey, Mike, Nelson's in the band too. And we're like, oh, that's cool. And we're shooting back and forth. Mind you, Mike's been on my friends list. We've never discussed music. All we did was shoot aliens and cartoons together on the internet for years. I don't even remember. You know, if you play video games, you know those people you have on your friends list forever? That was Mike. He's just on my friends list, super chill. Our mutual friend discusses this and we start talking about music. He's like, oh, what kind of stuff do you play? I'm like, metal. He's like, he discusses his other bands and what they do, which is in the heavy-ish, but more in the melodic realm of it. And he goes, oh, where are you guys? I'm like, oh, we're in New York. He goes, I'm in New York. Where do you guys practice? I'm like, we practice over at Battalion. And he goes, that's where I work.
Yeah, he works right around the corner.
Yep.
Literally couldn't have been more of like a random crazy coincidence. And he's just the most chill guy, great player, super responsible. He's been
super
a great
professional, and you know, like, you know how you know when you're a pro musician, it's like, you know, you don't got to be shown the same thing a million times. It's just like, get in there 2-3 times, 3 times. Oh, I got it. No problem. I jump right in. And it's like, our music is not the craziest, but it's not the easiest to play either. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, you know, and he just jumped right in there and boom, boom, boom. We were like, yo, instantly, yo, you're the guy, you right here.
Well, I'm glad you said it, because I was gonna say there's definitely like a new progressive element or an enhanced progressive element to some of these riffs and breakdowns where there's like some crazy. I just imagine Dennis in the studio with the fingers flying.
Well, Mike hasn't written anything into this EP. He joined after everything was already written, but that's not to say that we're already working on new stuff, and he's got some new songs already bringing to the table. So we're pretty excited to see 2024. You know, now with Mike in the band, you know, we want to keep going. We don't want to just stop at the EP. We want to do a full length, and we want to try to do some stuff. You know, well, I'm not gonna say too much, but you know, we want to try to do some bigger things. There's some things that this band's never done before. Go some places that we've never been before with this band. But it's a little hard to do that off an EP, so it's like a full length might be a little bit more appropriate. And Mike's gonna come with some new stuff. I know Nelson's always got ideas, and you know, I'm kind of like the guy who glues them together. So I'm really excited for next year.
And I'll compliment Jamin real quick on that. Is part of the reason I'm so excited to like do this stuff is because it's really easy to work with a drummer who's like creative and can play the parts. Like it doesn't matter if I throw a blast beat at him, some tricky progressive stuff. Because like Dennis, I'm a fan of all of the progressive bands. You know, Clean
Love the
Animals,
Leaders,
Dream Theater. You know, love all of that stuff. And no matter what I throw at Jamin, even if he can't do it in the moment, he'll grind it out until he can. But usually he can play it. And when somebody, I call it like musical curiosity, you know, like when you play in a band, especially metal, which in my opinion, metal is everything should be somewhat fun. It's a fun form of music. It's fun to play shows. After I play a show, it's like I just got off a roller coaster ride. Everybody should be having a good time. But you got to be like a little kid to some degree when you play metal. And for me to be in like the best like mindset is even if it's challenging, okay, I'm going to climb that mountain because it's fun and it's worth it. And I think everybody in the band has that attitude right now, which is awesome.
So good to hear. I'm excited about new music. That's really exciting. And I know you guys have a show in February opening for Cypher at Brooklyn Meadows, which I actually went to when I visited, and it's a pretty cool venue.
Cypher is great, man. Cypher is amazing, man.
Can't wait for that one.
I can't wait, man. I've been telling Dyami I want to play with Cypher since I joined the band, bro.
Since he joined the band.
Since I joined the band, bro.
James been telling me, he's like, yo, you think we can get a show with Cypher? He's like, yo, when are we gonna play with Cypher? I was like, yo, Mo's mad busy. Like, they don't play that much. Mo,
then their drummer passed away too.
Yeah, their drummer passed away too. So we have like that kind of thing in common, unfortunately. But it's like, you know, Mo is the director of the Working Families Party. He's always like flying around and doing all kinds of political events. So they don't play like they used to. But like when this came up, I was like, you know, James was telling me, he's like, yo, is there any way we could get something going? Something. And I was like, yeah, try.
Because I remember before I was in the band, I was a fan of Locked In A Vacancy before I joined and seen them a million times, man. You guys were on every fucking show before I was in the band. And there's been many shows that Locked In A Vacancy played with Cypher.
Yeah.
Like with Cypher, with Candiria. Exactly. I've seen Cypher and Locked In A Vacancy shows in the past, bro, and I'm younger. And I'm like, yo, we gonna play with them now, right? I fuck with them so hard, bro. It's not, okay, it's like rapping over breakdowns, bro, but it's not like E-Town, bro. No, it's not like Limp Bizkit, but it's so different, bro. It's rapping over breakdowns, bro. Like, but it's just,
and even like those drum parts, it's not even just breakdowns. Like the drum parts in their songs are so crazy. It's like
man off
stuff
time
that,
and oh man, I go listen, man. You talk about being retired from the pit. I'm retired from the pit, bro. If I hear a couple Cypher songs, I might have to go, yo, bro, I'm losing my shit. Yo, bro,
I actually
I already hear it in my head, bro.
I actually got very lucky to play with Cypher and The Empire Shall Fall in this little dust hole.
Oh man.
In what was it? Hewlett or Woodmere, Long Island. And Jesse Leach was like walking around casually.
From Killswitch's old side project, or
well,
maybe
it was his side project.
His main thing at the time. I don't think he was in Killswitch at that time.
No,
but yeah,
he was
man.
gone.
I remember I played with them too, man. And years ago, man.
But seeing Cypher was kind of like an eye awakening moment. Like, yeah, this is what music should be, all together.
Oh man, it's so good. I can't wait, bro. I've been waiting for this for 5 years, man.
That's amazing.
6 years now. It'll be 2024, so it's almost 5.5, 6 years. About man.
Right on. Once again, sorry for all of your losses. Sorry for their loss of their drummer. That sucks.
Yeah.
A lot of pain and loss in the world, but luckily we have music to come back to and lean on and carry us forward, and you'll take their memories with us going forward. Just as we wrap this up and wind down, I want to ask, I'd like to ask a wild card question to everybody. So each member of the band, just favorite album or most listened to album of 2023, whether it's new or not, and a band you're looking forward to hearing from in 2024, each one of you, if you want to go around.
Oh my goodness.
Oh shit, I gotta think about that.
So I already got an answer. Vivo Valo, or VV, if you want to shorten it, of formerly of His Infernal Majesty. That's an album I've been listening to nonstop, and as of this week, since I stopped working, I'm like, it's been kind of heavily played, and it's weird because I'll go to that and I love the New Suffocation album. So those two albums are rotating back to back. Yes, it's awkward, but I don't care. I love both. So
that New Suffocation is really good. I'll give you that.
It's great. I mean, but I listen to so much that it's like those two albums are rotating back and forth for me. It's a great listen.
Similar to you, I'm also rotating two albums. One is the most recent Protest the Hero release. It's one of my favorite metal albums in years. Absolutely love that one. And Corey Wong's latest solo album, which I'm a huge fan of. Yeah, this is my favorite Corey Wong solo album. Normally, my favorite Corey Wong thing is the Fearless Flyers, where, I love that band. Wolfpack is awesome, but this is the first Corey Wong solo project that I bump as hard as those other two bands, and I've been kind of back and forth on those two.
What do you think, Jay?
Dyami?
Me or Dyami?
Go ahead, Jay.
I don't know, man. I just love black metal, man, and I've been listening to the new Wolves in the Throne Room a lot. Mm-hmm. That's a really sick, black metal band from the West Coast, Seattle area. Oh man, so sick, bro. That, and then I just love Immortal. I'm always listening to Immortal. I just want to see them so bad, man. I just want to see Abbott, or I don't know anything, but just Immortal's the shit, bro. That's it.
Immortal at Gramercy was dope back in like 12, 13. That was like the time to see them.
Immortal from the heart of winter. It's just, oh man, it's just so good, bro. Everything, man. The music, the lyrics, the artwork, man. Oh, I got a back patch of that album. I just gotta learn how to sew, bro. That's the thing, bro. You don't understand, bro. I gotta learn how to sew, man. I just went to Michael's.
It's easy.
And I even got, you know how to sew, bro? Look, I got the sew, the needle and the thread, bro. I gotta learn this shit, bro. It's like the thing I from the heart of winter patch, bro. I just gotta do that shit,
bro. I got a stack of patches.
Dyami, what you been bumping?
For me, it's hard for me because I listen to so many different types of things, and also because a lot of, like, even when I got my little like Spotify rap thing, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's because, like, since I book shows, I'm constantly listening to bands that reach out to me and the bands I book, and like all these like random bands. I book a lot of Screamo shows, so that pops up a lot in like my listening habits. I just looked at my Spotify rap now, and the most like of that genre, the band that I listened to the most was this Australian band I booked called Blind Girls. I did a show for them back in the summer. Absolutely phenomenal, like female fronted screamo post hardcore band from Australia. I also like a lot of this band called Frail Body. They're from like Illinois, not really Chicago, kind of outside Chicago. They've got a new album coming out next year, and their last album is, they're just a band that you have to see live to see like how good they are. It's like one of those, them and like Masanera, I would put in the same category as like, their records are great, but you got to see that band live to see how awesome they are. I just did a show, like the last show I put on this year was just last Saturday for Masanera, and they're on tour with this band called Infant Island. Tons of kids came out. It was great, and it was a great way to end the year. As far as like heavier stuff, I would say like I do really like that new Suffocation album. Like it was awesome that like both Suffocation and Cryptopsy put out sick records this year. That like both, like I like death metal. I don't listen to a lot of death metal bands. Suffocation and Cryptopsy are a couple of my favorites, and I'm glad that they both put out sick records this year.
And the new cattle decapitation is sick too, man.
I know Jay
crazy,
liked that
bro.
one.
You don't want to go to the show with me, bro. I myself, man.
I had to work. I had to work.
Dyami, you know all the crazy underground obscure bands that I never heard of. I'm just like, but that's because Dyami just, and he's all about the scene. He's always in there. He like even before I knew you. I knew who you were before, because I'd see you at every show. All I could was playing every show. So, it's crazy, man. Now I'm in the band. Now we're bros. Now we're in the band and shit. I'm in the band. It's crazy, bro.
Another one I'll say though, the new Unearth album that came out this year is a banger. It's freaking
that was good too.
The new Unearth album is really good.
that was crazy. Too. Like Unearth was the first band that I listened to where I could see metalcore turning into. See, and there's two kinds of metalcore, right? Man. Like there's metallic hardcore, which is what I really mean when it's like metalcore, and then there's what you talked about before, like Atreyu, when it kind of turned into more of like a radio genre. But Unearth
still owes us a show, man.
Man, we were supposed to play with them, but
supposed to play with them. Then they got COVID, bro.
Our first show coming out of the pandemic was supposed to be at St. Vitus with Unearth and Darkest Hour. It was December of 2021, and they were doing a weekend because they were playing Shadows Fall like reunion show in Worcester at the Palladium. And then like they played a couple shows leading up to it. They played the show in Worcester, and then the Vitus show was gonna be the last show, and it was canceled the morning of because members of like both bands got COVID or something like that. So we were like, But we did end up playing with Darkest Hour like later on, and that was awesome. So those guys still rip.
I'm actually, you know how they say everything happens for a reason. I don't know about that, but I will say that I'm glad that we're getting to play with these bands after the EP rather than before the EP, because it feels really good to have a new body of work. Like, because most bands don't go through this. Playing songs that are like older than some of the kids that are at the show.
Not a good deal.
And you know what I mean? It's cool to have one or two like old songs, like super old songs as a throwback, but I'm glad that we're playing new material that was written with at least some of the members of this band, and that's what really gets me so excited in terms of doing this stuff.
Bro. Yeah, definitely.
And then moving forward, like we were saying with Mike, it looks like we've got like once 2024 comes around and we get like hardcore more into like playing shows and writing, I think the stuff is going to come together a lot faster, and I want to see that gel of like the members that we have now. Like we said, everybody has different influences, and it gels in such a cool way that I'm very excited about what's to come.
It's scary, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing to come, because we're all going to put so much stuff into the pot and stir it.
Yeah,
we'll know what's going to come out. It'll probably be zany.
That's a good one. Hashtag zany. I will say I aged 35 years during this interview when Dyami said scrams is still being used as a subgenre. Respect, but like I just turned. I right after this video shuts off, I'm just gonna turn to dust.
I don't know what that is. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's all good. Love a lot of post-hardcore and screamo too. Y'all, this was wonderful. Thank you so much. Capping off a year of killer interviews. Shameless plug. Anybody can probably check our channel out and check out interviews with Cattle Decapitation and Unearthed that we did this year, among many others.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
So congratulations, man. Really proud of y'all, and thanks for flying that flag still. And we'll chop it up. Make sure you'll I'll circle up with you, Dennis, and we'll get everybody's links and Dyami's booking company and all of that, so we can share all the things. And thanks for having a good year, and thanks for keeping it going. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for having us, man. Thank you.
All right, bro. Happy holidays, man.
Yeah,
happy holidays. Have a good one.
Later. All right.
Peace.
Latest.